Um, the greatest changes. So I think the greatest change that you'll see towards the end of this year, and definitely in the beginning of next year, is around apps and app indexing. I think in the SEO organic space, you're going to see a lot more in terms of how Google surfaces app content from mobile apps on obviously Android and iOS higher, and that's going to happen both with iOS 9 and Google Android M. So you're going to see a lot of that happening, I think, in the future. Obviously, this year we actually saw a lot around mobile and mobile rankings, the mobile algorithm. That's already early 2015. But I think the next frontier is really still mobile, but it's more about apps. And I think I was a little skeptical early on when Google released app indexing because I thought maybe it might be a fad and they might release it and they might pull it away in a few years. They still might do that, but it doesn't seem like apps are going anywhere. It seems like apps are staying around and just getting stronger. And with Apple and Bing and Google, Facebook, they all have protocols for app indexing. They call it something else. Apple calls it deep linking. I think the real future and what if you obviously assuming you've done everything to this point that SEOs and webmasters should be doing with mobile and HTTPS and everything else, I think the next thing SEO should really, really look into is app indexing and deep linking.
I think the biggest change has been around the topic of mobile. And I'm not just talking about Google updates on mobile and how people are changing their websites to be more mobile friendly, but also the awareness of how people actually use their mobile devices, which is much more than just a phone. It's now like a personal computer in your pocket, and people are using that in the same way as they are using their computers. They're looking stuff up, they're trying to compare things online. They might not all search, but they at least try to communicate through, they do communicate a lot through their devices. And what you can see is that I think hopefully I'm starting to see that marketers are starting to realize that mobile is actually more about where the people actually are instead of just the device that they're on. So instead of just optimizing your website for mobile devices, marketers are starting to understand that they need to be present at a certain time when a user experiences something through their mobile devices. So I think that's the biggest change when it comes to everything in digital marketing in 2015. And I think I've actually, I just come to think of it, and one of the things that I recently did with my children is play with the OK Google searching on my phone. And I think that that is something that's going to start growing a little bit more as well in the near future.
Okay, great. And just one follow-up. Are you a application apps man or you a mobile friendly man?
I'm a bit of both. I'm still not 100% sure what is the most important right now. I think you need to have an optimized site for mobile at this point in time. I do think apps will be more important in the upcoming time, so the next year or so. So that is important as well. So people are starting to use more and more apps. But I actually think that it's going to be more integrated than apps. I even think if you look beyond that, it's going to be more about integrated within your phone stuff. So like, for example, what Facebook and Google are doing with, or for example, Google Now, it is an app, Google Now, but it's much more integrated into your phone because it's listening to everything that you're doing. It's understanding your email. It's giving you information based on where you are. And that goes a lot further than apps. So I would say apps for now, there's no question about the fact that you need to have your website optimized. But apps for now, and beyond that, it's going to be even bigger and more integrated.
When I read the Bloomberg article, I wanted to find out who were the people involved, and they mentioned two names. Thomas Stroman was one of them. So I looked them up in Google patent search to see what types of things they had worked upon. And Thomas Stroman had worked on query rewriting patents of the type that the Hummingbird patent was, where it talked about finding substitute terms for words used in a query and using those in the query to see if it would get better results. And as I read through the patent, I noticed three examples they provided that showed an initial query, and then the query that they ended up using that gave final results. It was a little bit longer and more detailed, and how they understood the words within those queries. Like one of the queries was New York Yankees Stadium,
Yeah.
and they noticed that New York itself was a concept, a phrase that had meaning, so they could merge those two words together and say this is one concept, one idea. They noticed that when the word Yankees tended to be used around words like stadium and New York, the meaning tended to be baseball.
Yeah.
So that's how we're using artificial intelligence here. They're learning from the context of words within a query.
What is the major difference? Why we call it artificial intelligence? Because program itself, software itself can learn itself. They don't really. The algorithm can learn itself, isn't it? Is it the case?
It can learn, and it can notice relationships. You know, it maybe it goes out and it does a query of the web to see how often the word baseball shows up, or it queries the web and does a search for New York and Yankees, and notices that baseball tends to show up a lot.
Yeah.
So we can insert the word baseball in that query. It's not really learning, but it's learning relationships between those words.
So it's not really learning, which means so the algorithm, in order to improve, you have to actually do something about it to rewrite it or to improve it. So algorithm is itself won't improve itself, won't learn itself.
Yeah, it's one of the philosophical queries, concerns about what artificial intelligence actually is.
Yeah, well, kind of intuitively we understand that, okay, we have an algorithm already done, and after that we don't touch it, and it's learn itself.
Right. So the other guy they mentioned in the Bloomberg article, I don't think I could pronounce his name if it was in front of me, so I'm not going to try. He wrote one that talked about experimenting with queries and creating what they called synthetic queries to try to see what types of results they might get if they try a lot of different queries, and that had the words deep learning in the patent title. So
Okay, so we have to wait and see what comes out of it. Can I ask a question, kind of widen the question?
yeah.
SEO 2015. What do you think that the major changes, biggest change? Is it what we are talking about? Is it the biggest one, or you think it's too early to say?
I think Google's showed that they are persistent in making a move towards the knowledge graph and towards understanding entities better. I think this matches that to a degree because it deals with understanding concepts.
Okay, so you think this is a major changes? It's what didn't happen before. This is a change, biggest change of this year, 2015.
It's hard to say. You know, you can't necessarily put those landmarks out there and say this is when this happened. Google goes through 500 changes a year supposedly to their core algorithms.
Yeah, but
We don't know when those things get triggered. We don't know what day they decided to start using Rank Brain?
I would say that the biggest, I don't even know if it's a change, but I think that there has to be a huge emphasis on usefulness. And so I think that one of the biggest changes is that tactics and tricks are not working anymore. And so people who normally could take a mediocre site and propel it to the top of Google because you've got some type of a blog network or some type of a trick that used to work, those tricks are getting less and less effective. And I would say that usefulness really is my keyword for 2015, 2016. So my key for any website is to say, how can we make this the most useful for any user to use? And that might involve technical aspects. I mean, maybe it means making the pages load faster. Maybe it means getting rid of confusing navigation. But also it can mean things that are not even technical, such as how can we make this page present products in a much more useful manner than our competitors can? So to me, it's all about usefulness.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. It was the shortest Q&A in the history. Everybody except couple of person was saying about mobile friendly, everything. Any comment on mobile friendly and apps?
Definitely. I have a fairly, I guess, a medium-sized informational website that I really don't use for financial reasons, but I played around with it, and I made half of it mobile friendly and half of it not. And the half that's mobile friendly is getting about 30% more traffic than the one that isn't. And that website is actually getting about 90% of their visitors from mobile. So I think it depends on the area that you're in. I think there are some sites that are going mobile friendly when they only get maybe 10% of their traffic from mobile. So I think sometimes we can put too much emphasis on that. And if it's going to cost people a huge amount of money to have a mobile friendly site, then it might not be worthwhile. But I think that for the majority of sites, definitely being as mobile friendly, again, it comes back to being useful. If you have users that use your site on smartphones, on tablets, then you need to make sure that your site is very easily usable on those devices.
I believe the biggest change, I mean, one of the change that everyone was expecting, that, mobile is going to overtake the digital searches. So yeah, that's been done. Mobile finally took over the digital searches. So now the people who are using the desktop are using less searches as compared to the mobile. So mobile is more important. Google come up with more mobile updates, mobile websites, and so many things. I guess the biggest update for the year 2015 is about to come, and that is the real-time Penguin update. I guess that will be game-changing, because the problem with most of the websites who have been attacked because of the Penguin, or the websites who are actually working on recovering or getting back to the normal rankings for Penguin, it took a lot of time. So you have to wait for the next Penguin update to get back in rankings, or maybe you're doing a shady work but you're not getting hit because the Penguin didn't roll up, or maybe the Penguin updates didn't come in. I guess the best part is, once there will be live Penguin update, there will be a lot of techniques like, block comment spam, or forum links, or a lot of other websites that are giving the shady links, or shady kind of link techniques, or private blog network and stuff like that. That's going to be dead. So link building will be more cleaner but more difficult in the recent times to come. And I guess, the time is not yet decided, but I guess if we're going to be before December or maybe November, you can expect the real-time Penguin update.
Yeah, in 2015, the biggest changes is it's not just based on solid metrics like links or on-page SEO. What we're seeing is user behavior and user metrics matter even more than ever before. Is a user bouncing off? Are they clicking the back button and going back to the search results? What's your click-through rate from when someone sees your listing in a Google search results versus other people's? Are they clicking more on your listing or someone else's? We're seeing all these user metrics impacting SEO and rankings more than anything else.
Yeah, okay, great. Can I have a follow-up? So a few days, a week ago, I guess, rank brain algorithm comes to knowledge, and everybody talking about that. Would you consider this new algorithm as a biggest or very big change for 2015?
No, I don't think it is. I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that's still going to impact changes, like user behavior. I still think they have a lot more ways to go on that. How does user behavior change on phones versus how they change on tablets versus how they change on web? I still think they need to optimize for all those experiences first before you start seeing some of the artificial intelligence stuff kicking in.
Another question. What you said more or less goes with the line with half of people I asked, and another half mentioned about mobile friendly and apps. Any comment on it?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with apps because Google doesn't really deal with apps and SEO isn't really there for apps yet. There's app stores, but that's a different search engine hypothetically, and it's not as clear cut when it comes to algorithm. It's the way we see it is that is the future. If you look at Google traffic, I think they're saying over half of it comes from mobile, so they have to end up adapting. If they don't, they'll get washed out.
The biggest changes in SEO in 2015. What I think about it is that we are seeing a shift that is even more accelerated by Google and search engines being better at not being machines, weirdly, because they are machines, but they are being programmed not to solve the problem, but to learn to solve a problem. So like the biggest changes what I'm seeing is that we SEOs have to learn more marketing and less technical skills nowadays. We need still to have the technical skills, don't get me wrong, but we cannot focus on having just that. We need to be more wide in what comes to knowledge in user experience, in what comes to knowledge in usability, in what comes to knowledge in marketing in general, and promoting stuff in marketing, like competitive differentials and etc. We cannot just focus purely on technical stuff like we used to do with SEO in the past. So this is the biggest changes that I'm seeing in the SEO landscape. I'm seeing that whoever doesn't work as in-house SEO has to be a bit more savvy in going after these things because in-house SEOs tend to be a bit more closed in their area because they have other people to do these things for inside the company. They have the marketing department, they have the design department, they have the usability department, they have the UX, and they kind of can go and ask these people for advice and work together with these people so they can just keep their expertise very siloed. But for marketers that work as consultants and as from outside, they have to be a bit more holistic in the way that they approach SEO, and they have to be able to give advice that sometimes it's not just towards a pure technical SEO, but extrapolates to other areas. So this is the biggest changes that I am seeing, and many people fail, not fail, but are more reluctant to adapt because they are used to work in SEO like they used to do it in like 2005, 2006, and they have been doing it until now. They didn't change their tactics. They didn't try to learn something new. But I think it's time for SEOs to start learning marketing and stop thinking that the internet is a separate world, because no, the internet now is the real world, and it's time to bring all the concepts that we learn in school about marketing, about usability, about user experience to the table now, because otherwise you're gonna be left behind in terms of being a competitive advantage, having competitive advantage as an SEO.
What's new in 2015 on LinkedIn? All right,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, it's really interesting what's happening with LinkedIn. Since they went public a couple years ago, I'm not quite sure what direction they mean to be going. They've acquired a lot of different companies with some really positive outcomes from that. So they acquired Connected HQ, so they're starting to integrate, or they have integrated a CRM system. They acquired lynda.com, linda.com, the training center, so that for $1 billion. So that's really interesting. They acquired Bizzo, a marketing funnel, an advertising funnel. So all of those things are very positive. On the downside, they seem to be restricting what people with the free accounts can do. And I really wonder, because on the one side, you have things like Publisher and Pulse, which is really supportive of business owners and getting the voice out there and encouraging communication, but then they make it impossible practically for anyone to communicate with each other. So it's interesting to see the direction that LinkedIn's going. I would hope that they would continue to nurture their client base and their customer base, both the free and the paid accounts. But it does seem that they're going more towards supporting the premium customers and clients, which is unfortunate, because you have to have all the free customers and clients in order for the premium people to have someone to prospect to. So it's interesting, that direction that they're going.
Oh, I guess it's called monetization. Yeah, they got a base, and now they want the money. Okay.
Yes, yes. And I'm all for monetization. I always say about LinkedIn that think of it as a business tool. If you think of it as a social media site, you're not going to want to pay for it. But if you think of it as a business tool that will allow you to find, connect with and potentially engage with anyone that you need to in your business world, it's worth the $70, $80, $90 per month, whatever they're charging. But to think of it as a social media site, no one's going to pay for it. And it's okay to monetize. We want to make money. It's okay for them to want to make money. There needs to be a balance between making money and really tying the hands of the people who the whole platform is based on, which is the free user. So we'll see.